This weekend in Atlanta, thousands of entrepreneurs, creators, and investors are gathering to build, grow, invest together. There's even a singles event built right into the lineup. I'll be there all weekend. You don't find the right person, you find the right room, and the right person is already in it.
One of the founders of InvestFast controversially appears to say that the event was never meant for Black people.
I never was on a black thing, not a black event, because I seen somebody else had said that, like, it was white people. Yeah, they're qualified to be there. Like, what do you mean? Like, you think I'm gonna cater just to black people just to get torn down by black people?
It was my first InvestFest, and I went to the singles event thinking, okay, maybe I'll meet my husband in this room. But woman after woman got on stage saying the same thing.
Aw, shit. Get your tea and your popcorn because we have hit yet another psychological jackpot. That's right, the hypergamous queens, the blueprints, they thought that they could go to InvestFest, which is apparently some sort of business conference in Atlanta, and apparently they thought they could meet their rich white zaddies at this business conference. But then when you look at some of the clips from TikTok, you just see a bunch of overweight women standing around awkwardly, anxiously looking around the room. And then you got some women who became so desperate that they started dapping up tens. And I just had to pause it right here because the woman literally walks up and interrupts another single woman's conversation so she could dap up the man. Like, how competitive do you have to be with other women to where you see another woman being approached and you go and interrupt just so you could fist bump the guy? If that's not desperation, I don't know what is. So you know how they do the dapping up 10? So instead of being the 10 that's getting dapped up, oh no, the women were actually walking up to the men in hopes that they could find their almighty husbands. And then there was an unambiguous black woman who's a dating guru, and she's in charge of this whole singles event. But instead of actually making sure that the men are qualified, and instead of making sure that there's like an equal amount of men and women, she would rather argue back and forth with her own audience.
Listen, I ain't the 1, the 2, 3, 4, 5.
And she literally starts yelling on the microphone and asking women if they can build up a man and saying that their standards are too high. You know, then you got the hypergamous women at InvestFest who started arguing with the 50-50 women.
Came to me.
So imagine trying to go to a business conference and then it ends up being dysfunctional. You're literally arguing on the stage.
The mecca of scammers.
I didn't see any investors there.
Bitch, when I tell you I saw every fake Gucci.
I didn't see any VCs. I didn't see any venture funds. I didn't see any PE firms. I didn't see any banks.
Not even Gucci. Every fake designer, fake butt.
I have always noticed the character of businesses that they choose to support.
But apparently part of the way this conference was advertised was by saying that there would be Filipino and Hispanic people and white people there because, as we know, Black excellence culture is really just anything that's adjacent to non-Blackness.
I'm not sure he should be on the internet saying this type of stuff.
There's gonna be even more white people next year, and Spanish and the Filipinos, of course. Like, I'm done.
Also, notice how when these black women are put on the spot, then they get asked questions like, are you open to building a man? Are you going to date a man that makes less than you? And this is after they've already been advertised that this is going to be a multicultural space.
There's not a black financial literacy investment community-based organization. No.
So unless you are writing a check or helping them get a check, which means if you're not writing it, you're making an introduction to an investor that can write it, or you're making an introduction to someone that could become a customer, it's all talk.
It's not even an option to date a man that makes less money than you. No, absolutely not. I want somebody who's gonna leave me. How you gonna leave me? You making less than me. I'm your no bars.
Did y'all bring these women up here to rage bait us? Black men talking about black women. Like we weren't standing right there. Everybody in the room has to hit one number to qualify. Y'all do the math with me. You've made the pool super narrow, and it's more smaller than you actually think, because we're not even adding into things like race, which is typically another criteria for a lot of people. And it becomes more impossible to actually meet somebody.
So after they advertised that it would be a multicultural festival with all these rich people there, then they get annoyed when women are hypergamous. And then when a woman comes up and says, hey, I would date a man who makes less money than me, then she gets cheered on. They're like, whoa, good job. So do you see the bait and switch there? You're advertising, oh, you can come here to InvestFest and like meet the hypergamous man of your dreams. But then when they get there and they say on stage that they're hypergamous, then suddenly it's a problem. And then they want to say, oh, well, actually, you should be dating someone who makes less money than you. Imagine going to an InvestFest just for them to celebrate you being with a man who makes less than you.
All of this is going on. I hear chatter behind me of black men, and one of them says it plain. This is why I don't deal with black women. This is why I don't with black women. You fill in the blank. And listen, we already hear this narrative all the time, that we got bad attitudes, that we're hard to deal with. So sitting there hearing this in real time and knowing that that's not me, and knowing several other successful women who don't think like that either, it was pretty heartbreaking. So watching our own people go against each other like that over 4 strangers on stage.
Also, some of the Exoticals in the Pretty Girl Club decided to be petty, and they were screenshotting some of the women's outfits and sharing them in the Discord. By the way, be sure to join the members page if you want access to the Discord. But what is this idea that if you just walk outside and go to a singles event, then suddenly this rich white man is just going to come sweep you off your feet? That's why I say that in black female culture, a lot of them struggle with magical thinking. Like, oh, all I have to do is just show up, and I don't have to be in shape. I don't have to lose weight. I can just be a beluga. I can just have my stomach hanging out everywhere. Also, the reason why a lot of the fashion advice fails is because, let's be honest, most women in today's economy can't even afford nice outfits. And we all know that black women on average tend to spend more money on their hair and nails versus their outfits. So I don't know what all this cope is on the internet. Women love to pretend that they're such fashionistas. They love making fun of Exoticals. They love making fun of MLS women and the outfits we wear. But then when you actually start screenshotting their outfits at real events, it's like, how are you talking about being the blue? Is this the blueprint? By the way, they advertised this event as being a rich men only event. So my question is, how did they vet the men who were coming to this event? And why would they not make sure that there are at least an even number of people? Because think about how much these people paid to get into InvestFest. I mean, people were flying from all over the country. Some people were flying in from places like Canada. You know, they're flying in from really all over the world because they've been lied to, and they got told by this Kendra G lady that this event is going to have all these rich men. And also, we know that Atlanta is notorious for scammers. We know that it's notorious for having DL men. So it's like, are these men from Atlanta that you're advertising as being at this rich men's event? Like, who are these magical, ethereal, white and Filipino and Hispanic men? Like, where are they at? And why would they randomly come to Atlanta? Out of all of the places they could go to, out of all of the mixers they could go to meet single women, why would they randomly choose something in the middle of Atlanta? You know that a lot of people in the South are overweight. Why would they come to the South out of all the regions of the United States? And by the way, this is why I talk so much about thin privilege on my channel, because, I mean, even if this event was a successful event, just imagine being a skinny woman in this room. I mean, you would have automatically stood out if this is, you know, who else is in the room. You got people with tight-ass bell-bottoms on, fupa hanging out everywhere, walking around smelling like fried chicken. They got chicken grease on their lips, crumbs everywhere, tracks falling out. And have you ever noticed that when women are big, a lot of them have to cover themselves with several layers? Like, think about how hot it probably is right now in Atlanta. It's August. So just think about having to wear long jeans. You have to wear super thick dresses from Zara. You know, you got to wear a full blazer in 90-degree weather to cover your bra strap fat. They have to wear giant blazers to cover their stomachs.
They have to walk up and interrupt your conversation so they can dap up the guy, because that's how desperate they are for attention. So they don't want to actually make connections. They want to make it look like they talk to a lot of guys by making dapping up 10 videos. So now they're using the men to go viral. I mean, if that's not being masculine, I don't know what is. And I see a lot of black women saying, oh, you're stereotyping black women as being masculine. Well, that's masculine behavior. Walking up, approaching the men, approximating yourself to them. And by the way, these men are most likely not even rich. A lot of them are probably dusties. A lot of them, are they even straight? Like, you don't even know if these men are straight. And then you had the guy saying, oh, well, they're going to be white people and Filipinos. Okay, I didn't see not one white person in any of the clips. And while I'm talking, I'm going to be showing screenshots that I got from TikTok, just so you can kind of get a picture of like the different people that were there and kind of their outfits. I'm wondering if they had a dress code, because some of the outfits are very interesting looking. I don't know if they had an age limit or what. It just looks very disorganized. And then if you look at some of the clips of the guys talking to the women, some of these men are not even making eye contact with the women. They'd rather look at the camera. You know, they're talking to the cameras, or they're just sitting on the sidelines, just on their phones. So just imagine all of the single black women who probably called into Ashley Dalton. They probably got their new Zara dresses just to go into this singles event. And then some of the men had like dots on their lip, and it kind of reminded me of like cold sores and shit. So it's like, you spent all that time and money. You spent all that money on a plane ticket. You went and got the Airbnb because you've been told that there are going to be white people and Filipinos. And then you go to this singles event. And my question is, how many success stories are there from these dating gurus? Because I saw a clip from this creator, Kendra G. I'm not familiar with her content, but I saw where she was like, oh, 20 people have gotten married from my content. And it's like, okay, 20 people out of how many subscribers, out of how many total followers? I'm assuming if you're on TV and you're kind of like this celebrity guru, you probably have millions of people following you. So 20 people out of millions, that's actually still a very bad ratio. That's actually worse than Tinder. That's worse than like the average dating app. And I saw some people saying, oh, well, rich men, they don't go to singles events at all. And I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that rich and poor people can go anywhere. But I think that a rich person, if they are going to go to a singles event, it probably wouldn't be a sloppily thrown together, there's no dress code, there's no age limit. You know, it wouldn't be something like that. It would probably be something a little more organized. And also, like, no shade to any people in these photos, but it's like, are all these people even straight? Because some of the men that I saw, I'm not trying to stereotype, but I'm like, seriously, are these guys, are they gay? Are these gay men looking for rich men? Or, you know, what's going on here? Because what are the requirements to even get into this event? So you could be talking to a guy, turns out that guy's gay. That guy's looking at the man behind you. No wonder he's not making eye contact with you. He's looking for the men, just like you. Also, I find it so fascinating that people have time to purchase a new wig. They have time to get a whole new outfit. They have time to fly across the country, get Airbnbs, pay thousands on their credit card to attend these events, but they don't have time to go to the gym. They don't have time to get a Planet Fitness membership, which is like $10. But when it comes to singles events, I've never heard of anyone who met their significant other at a singles event. Like, I've never heard of that. And I would love to see them say afterwards, like, okay, this is how many matches there were at the singles events. Like, this is how many dates people went on. Like, why did they never follow up with actual results? Why is it always, oh no, you just need to buy the ticket and just show up, and then whatever happens after that is on you? That sounds like a grift. That sounds like a grift against women who are extremely desperate. And hey, you know, this is why I tell you to just go ahead and decenter men. Just don't be so desperate to the point where you neglect yourself, you neglect going to the gym, you neglect purchasing clothes that actually fit, and you're bypassing all this stuff just so you could catch a plane in hopes to meet a rich white man, but then you're upset because there are no white men there. There are mostly black men. And also, based on these images that you see, is there anyone in here that you would date, or is there anyone that you think would be interesting? Because that's another thing. Like, if you walk into an event and you don't see anyone attractive, why would you stay there? Like, I would have just turned around and walked out. I mean, I've never been to a singles event, but it's like, if I really am that desperate and I have to go to this random event, I would just walk out. If everybody in there looks dusty or zesty, or they just look predatory, or if there's no one in there that's my type, then what's the point of being there? But what do you ladies think?
Let me know in the comment section, and I'll talk to you next time. Stay pretty, ladies.